On New Year's Eve 2000, a 23-year-old woman finished her waitressing shift at 10 o'clock and started the 1-mile walk home through a small Texas town. Her parents were waiting for her with party hats and sparkling cider, planning to toast midnight together. She never arrived, and for 15 years, nobody knew why. Lauren Hayes had grown up in Bridgewater, Texas, population 6,800, the kind of town where the high school football stadium held more people than lived within city limits, where Main Street had a hardware store, a diner, a drugstore, and not much else, where everyone knew everyone. Lauren had graduated from Texas State University the previous May with a degree in elementary education. She had spent the summer interviewing for teaching jobs and landed one at Bridgewater Elementary in August. Second grade, her own classroom, her own students, the job she had spent 4 years working toward. The problem was the salary. $28,000 a year in 2000 did not go as far as she had hoped. After taxes, student loans, car insurance, there was nothing left. So Lauren lived with her parents and took a second job waitressing at the roadside diner on Main Street most evenings after school. Her mother, Margaret, was 48, worked as a secretary at the middle school. Her father, Tom, was 51, a retired Bridgewater police officer with 25 years on the force. He knew how investigations worked. He knew that most missing person cases got solved in the first 48 hours, or not at all. He never imagined he would one day be living inside one. December 31st started like any other Sunday. Lauren went to church with her parents, came home for lunch, headed to the diner for the 4 to 10 shift. Margaret had planned a small celebration at home. Nothing fancy, just the three of them watching the ball drop, toasting with sparkling cider. Lauren promised she would be home by 10:15. Around 8 o'clock that evening, a man came into the diner and sat at the counter. Lauren had seen him before, maybe twice in the past month. He always sat at the counter, always ordered coffee and pie, always left exact change, never made conversation beyond placing his order. But something about him made her uncomfortable in a way she could not name. The way he watched people, the way his eyes followed her when she moved around the room. She mentioned it to Rita, the other waitress working that night. Rita shrugged, said the guy was probably harmless, probably just lonely. When Lauren brought the man his coffee and pie, his hand brushed hers when she set down the plate. Not an accident, deliberate. His eyes held hers for a moment too long. Lauren pulled her hand back and walked away with her skin crawling. She went to the back room, told herself she was overreacting, that she was tired and it was New Year's Eve and she just needed to get through the shift. When she came back out, the man was gone. He had left exact change on the counter like always. By 10 o'clock, the diner was nearly empty. Everyone had left to get to their parties. Rita told Lauren to go ahead and leave, that she would close up herself. Lauren did not argue. She changed out of her uniform, said goodbye to Rita, and pushed through the front door into the cold December night. Main Street was alive, cars passing, people walking between houses, music from someone's open window. Lauren started the 1-mile walk home. She had walked this route hundreds of times, knew every crack in the sidewalk, every dog that barked when she passed. The first few blocks were well lit and busy. She waved to people she recognized and called out, "Happy New Year." Then she turned onto Oak Street. Quieter, fewer streetlights, houses set back from the road. Still her town, just darker. And halfway down Oak Street, Lauren heard footsteps behind her. She glanced back. A figure in a dark jacket, hands in pockets, walking about 20 feet behind her. She walked faster. The footsteps matched her pace. Her heart started beating harder. She told herself she was being paranoid. This was Bridgewater. People walked at night. It did not mean anything. But the footsteps stayed exactly 20 feet behind her. Never closer, never farther. She turned onto Elm Street, taking a slightly longer route to stay on more populated roads. The footsteps turned behind her. She was 4 blocks from home. She gripped her purse tighter and thought about the canister of pepper spray her father had given her when she started working night shifts. She turned onto Cedar Lane. 2 blocks from home, she could see porch lights glowing. She could see her own house, the light her mother always left on. She was almost running now, keys already in her hand, her breath coming fast in the cold air. Half a block from home, the footsteps behind her suddenly got faster. Lauren broke into a run. She made it 10 feet before a hand grabbed her arm. Another hand covered her mouth before she could scream. She was pulled backward off the sidewalk into the dark space between two houses. She fought. She kicked. She tried to bite the hand over her mouth. Her purse fell. Contents scattered across the pavement. But whoever had her was stronger. Much stronger. The last thing Lauren Hayes saw was the glow of her own porch light. 30 more seconds and she would have been inside. At 11:55, Margaret looked at the clock and wondered where Lauren was. At midnight, when fireworks went off across Bridgewater and people cheered, Margaret felt the first real stab of fear. By 12:15, Tom had walked around the block calling Lauren's name and found nothing. He found her purse on the sidewalk between two houses, 3 doors down. Her wallet was still there with money and ID inside. Her keys were on the ground. Her phone was smashed, screen cracked. Tom did not touch any of it. He stood there looking at the scattered contents and felt his heart collapse. By dawn, the FBI had been called. Lauren's face was on every television screen in Texas. The diner's security camera had captured the man at the counter. Grainy, black and white, baseball cap pulled low. Police released the footage. Tips poured in. Every lead went nowhere. The first 48 hours became the first week. The first week became the first month. The daily updates from the police chief became weekly calls that said the same thing. No new leads. Still investigating. We have not given up. Tom knew what that meant. The case was going cold. By the first anniversary of Lauren's disappearance, her file had been moved to inactive status. Margaret refused to accept it. She printed flyers with Lauren's photo and drove to every town within 100 miles. She started a support group for families of missing persons. She kept going back to the police, kept calling the FBI, kept putting up new flyers with age-progressed photos. Lauren at 25, Lauren at 28, Lauren at 30. Each version showed a stranger Margaret had never met. Tom got quieter, withdrew, spent more hours away from a house that felt like a tomb. They kept Lauren's room exactly as she had left it, teaching materials on her desk, the outfit she had worn to church that Sunday, hanging on her closet door, her bed unmade from that morning. Margaret changed the sheets once a month, even though no one slept there. 15 years passed, and 300 miles away in Dallas, a woman who called herself Rachel Morrison was struggling to remember anything before 2008. She was in her early 30s, worked as a bookkeeper at an accounting firm, lived a quiet, private life that felt safe, but empty in ways she could not explain. She had been in therapy for 7 years, trying to piece together the missing parts of her memory, trying to understand why she could not remember her childhood, her family, anything before waking up in a hospital in 2001 with a head injury that had erased most of her past. The doctors had called it retrograde amnesia, severe head trauma. They told her memories might come back over time. They did not come back. Rachel spent years feeling like she was living someone else's life, like the person she had been before was still buried somewhere deep, trying to surface. In January 2015, at her therapist's suggestion, Rachel started a YouTube channel called Fragments. She posted audio recordings over simple visual backgrounds. No face, just her voice. She talked about what it felt like to wake up one day and not know who you were, about building an identity from nothing, about the dreams that felt like memories, a yellow house, the smell of coffee, a woman's laugh that made her feel safe, about teaching children, second graders, the feeling of chalk dust on her fingers. She did not know if any of it was real. The channel had about 300 subscribers, small, but the people who listened felt less alone. Rachel kept posting every week, and 300 miles away in Bridgewater, in October 2015, Margaret Hayes sat down at her computer, looking for something mindless to watch while cleaning out the spare bedroom. The algorithm suggested a channel, Fragments, a woman talking about memory loss. Margaret almost scrolled past. Something made her click. She listened while folding laundry. The woman was talking about dreams that might be memories, about teaching, about second graders. Margaret's hands went still. The voice, the way she spoke, the slight Texas drawl that softened certain words. Margaret rewound the video and listened again, focused entirely on the voice this time. It was impossible. Thousands of women in Texas sounded like this, but Margaret clicked through to other videos and kept listening. And the more she listened, the harder her heart was beating. By the time Tom came home, Margaret was crying at the computer. "I found her," she whispered. "Tom, I think I found our daughter." Tom had watched Margaret chase 100 leads that went nowhere over 15 years. He wanted to protect her, but he sat down and listened. And the way this woman said certain phrases, specific words Lauren used to use, small things that individually meant nothing but together felt impossible to dismiss. He called a retired private investigator named James Reeves the next morning. 5 days later, Reeves had a name: Rachel Morrison, 35 years old, Dallas, bookkeeper, no online presence beyond the YouTube channel, no records before 2001, no birth certificate, no school transcripts, just suddenly existed starting in early 2001, which meant Rachel Morrison was not her real name. It was an identity created after the fact. Reeves had more. On January 3rd, 2001, 3 days after Lauren disappeared, a young woman had been admitted to Parkland Hospital in Dallas with severe head trauma, fractured skull, brain swelling, found near the hospital entrance, unconscious, no ID, no purse, no phone. Someone had left her there and disappeared. She had been in a coma for 3 days. When she woke up, she could not remember anything. Police ran her fingerprints and dental records. No matches. She was listed as a Jane Doe for 6 months before social services helped her build a new identity. Tom's hands were shaking when he hung up the phone. She was found 3 days after Lauren disappeared, in Dallas, 300 miles from here. They arranged a meeting at a coffee shop in Dallas. Neutral ground, public space. Rachel wanted to feel safe. Margaret and Tom arrived 30 minutes early and sat in a corner booth with untouched cups of coffee going cold. At exactly 2 o'clock, a woman walked in. Brown hair, medium height, jeans and a sweater. She looked around the room uncertainly, spotted the private investigator who had come to make introductions, and walked over. Margaret's breath caught. The woman's face was older, marked by 15 years of life she had lived as a stranger to herself. But the eyes, the way she moved. "I'm Rachel Morrison, or at least that's who I've been for the past 14 years. The DNA test took 3 days. Tom answered the phone when the results came. He listened, hung up, looked at Margaret. It's her, 99.9% match. Rachel Morrison was Lauren Hayes. She had been alive the entire time, 300 miles away, not knowing who she was. Lauren's medical records told the rest of the story. The head trauma had caused severe retrograde amnesia. The areas of her brain that stored long-term memory had been permanently damaged. The neurologist said her memories from before 2001 were likely gone forever. She might get fragments, feelings, flashes, but she would probably never remember being Lauren Hayes, never remember her parents, never remember walking home on New Year's Eve. The FBI reopened the investigation. The man from the diner was never identified. No evidence ever surfaced about what happened in the 3 days between when Lauren was taken and when she was left at that hospital in Dallas. Investigators believe her abductor was in a car accident while fleeing with her, panicked when he saw how badly she was hurt, and left her at the hospital entrance to save his own freedom. There was no proof, no witnesses, no forensics after 15 years. The person who took Lauren Hayes was never found. He is still out there. On New Year's Eve 2016, the Hayes family gathered in the yellow house on Cedar Lane. Margaret, Tom, and Lauren, watching the ball drop, toasting with sparkling cider. Lauren did not remember the last time they had done this, did not remember waiting to come home to this house, did not remember being the daughter who had walked 1 mile through a Texas town on a cold December night and never made it through the door. But she was there, and Margaret held her hand, and that had to be enough. "I'm glad you found me," Lauren said quietly. "Even if I can't remember, I'm glad I know where I came from." "We never stopped looking," Margaret told her. "Not for one single day. The man who took her was never caught. Justice was never served." But a mother listened to a stranger's voice on YouTube, recognized something no algorithm could have found, and refused to let go of what her heart already knew. That is the only reason Lauren Hayes has a name today. Some cases do not end the way they should. Some answers come too late to undo the damage. Some people come home but cannot really come back. And some monsters walk free while the families they destroyed find whatever peace they can in the wreckage left behind.